In this video, we're going to be showing you a little bit about Frontier Nav so that you can potentially acquire all of the necessary materials to make one of the most powerful skills in the game, capable of one-shotting very powerful tyrants. A feature that you get access to around chapter 2, I believe, in the game here is Frontier Nav. It allows you to generate a ton of unique resources, which can be ultimately very helpful, especially as you're nearing the end game for various skills and augment upgrades. I wanted to make this little video here just to discuss frankly what I find to be the most important items for Frontier Nav, specifically storage limit. You see I have about 160,000 here, as well as mining totals, but most important is actually the unique resources that are not tracked relative to the little stat screen down there. In this Frontier Nav video, I'm going to show you best how to optimize for those resources for endgame farming, and also how you can potentially get your storage up to the maximum amount. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do is really explore Cauldros. I would suggest probably coming up into Cauldros, you're going to run into a lot of unique monsters that are very high level pretty early on. But I would suggest probably running up to Cauldros through Sylvalum here. I would say around chapter 6 is when you're going to want to probably start doing this, when you first get access to your skill, and then you can complete the remainder of Cauldros exploration in chapter 9 after you get access to your flight module. The reason why that is important is because of this unique resource here, Bonjelium. There's a number of different squares on the map that give you access to Bonjelium. This is going to be one of the most important resources for getting your 20 level augments, as well as your Ares 90 scale. So the way that I've built out Cauldros, I functionally have level 10 mining probes, level 9 mining probes on most, if not all, of the Bonjelium access points. I have duplicator probes here. You can basically copy this layout. It is optimized to where you have the most access to Bonjelium, as well as getting you a decent amount of revenue. So when discussing Frontier Nav, you need to know the different types of probes. That is going to be probably the most important thing. So in Cauldros here, I have a number of probes that are of high value on Bonjelium, again, just because it is very utility heavy towards the end game. So I would definitely suggest getting your level 9, level 10, even level 8 probes on Arcsandor and Bonjelium spots in particular. This one you're going to need the flight module for. This one you will not. This one you will not. And I believe that this one you do, in fact, need the flight module for. So these two are going to be the ones that you have easy access to as early as possible. I have this as a booster probe here because I don't really need Andronian lead very often for endgame farming. So there are different types of mining probes that you have available to you, G1 through G10 at the maximum. You have research probes. These generate your revenue totals. Really exclusive of a few quests, there's really not too much reason to have many research probes out on the field unless you just want to generate a bunch of credit revenue. Booster probes, they boost all of the surrounding probe nodules. So make sure to effectively use your booster probes. I'll show you exactly where I've used mine because I found it to be the most helpful. Storage probes are going to be the most important aspect of Frontier Nav, so make sure that you are getting as many storage probes, complete quests for storage probes. Additionally, you have access to duplicator probes, which ultimately duplicate all of the various effects of probes surrounding it. There's a couple of these, actually all of them, that I've found that I've put out on the map just because they can be quite useful, especially at juncture points, such as here or here. Feel free to take screenshots here of my probe layout. I would suggest, as far as endgame farming goes, again, make sure you're getting access to your Bonjelium points when you have the flight module, because you will need the flight module for some of the easier access Bonjelium points, such as the most north and most south. You can immediately get this FN Site 511, even though it is a C tier revenue spot. As a duplicator probe, we're also generating the production here. It's a decent ability to mine for Bonjelium at a level 10 boost. A feature that you should note in terms of the production in Frontier Nav is you have various linking bonuses. When putting down your probes, If you utilize probes of the same variety, you will get a boost at 3, 5, and 8 probes respectively. So you see here, I could potentially remove this probe, and then these probes now have a lower tier because there are less than 8 linked together. As soon as I put this back on, which it appears is a mining probe 8, let's swap that back in. I will get the 8 chain effect. It grants an 80% increase in efficacy to whether it's production or revenue generation, predicated on, of course, what type of probe you have there. If it's research, it's going to be revenue. If it's mining, it's going to be production. Now, this is important because it also generates the 80% additional effect for, like, FN Site 401 here. You have your various mining resources. This is going to increase the potential yield of those mining resources. So make sure to effectively link your probes when at all possible. Use duplicator probes at, I would say, either very important junction sites or very unimportant junction sites. You don't want to do something that is going to ultimately kind of inhibit your links. Your links are far more important than a duplicator probe being placed in the middle of them would be. Going off to Primordia here, really the most important layout here is going to come over in Oblivia, which I will get to in just a moment, but take a screenshot here if you would like to see my Primordia layout. Functionally, the eastmost side of the map is going to be used primarily for storage boosts. Primordia doesn't really have too much for you in the way of resource generation, so, I mean, there's some Auric Sand for Calcum, but a lot of that's not useful for Endgame, or not extremely useful for Endgame. Oblivia is actually what I would consider to be the most important section of the Frontier Nav map. And the reason why here is because, frankly speaking, most of the squares are pretty bad. And the reason why that's good for us in terms of endgame farming is because you put down a lot of storage probes in Oblivia. You see, I have this section up here that's functionally the only section carved out for any type of resource generation, and that's really just for like Ouroboros crystals and then Auralite sand. I mean that, or Arc Sand ore. That's really the maximum utility you can get out of Oblivia, in my opinion. There are a few spots here like revenue generating. Really, there's nothing too great to be linked between them. You can get some boiled egg ore, which can be useful for endgame, but it's only at a production C, so I figured it would probably be best just to pop storage here as much as possible. Finally, the last little bit that we have to show you here is Noctilum. I have a couple storage probes in less than optimal areas. I mean, you can get decent production out of this spot, terrible production out of this spot, good production out of this spot, and then there's really, it kind of just falls off. So I guess you could get a 3 chain of production through here with no additional resources. I didn't need that. You see, I'm already mining for 70,000 Miranium at a time with a 160,000 storage, so figured I'd just throw on additional storage here and make sure that I could continue to have an excess of Miranium as needed. Yeah, this is ultimately just kind of the setup here. I mean, there's not really much else to say in terms of how to optimize Frontier Nav. I mean, you don't have to have combat support basically anywhere on the map. I have combat support, and I have a Skell refuel just because, based on what I already have on the field, it's far and away enough for what I need in the end game here. It's easily enough to also get through any potential like Christie quests or Tobias quests. This will certainly get you by for any of them that I've come across at this point. And I'm through, I believe, all of Christie's, and I am just waiting for one final return on Tobias for the 115,000 revenue generation. But that's it. That's the Frontier Nav setup that I've come to. I've tweaked this. I've spent millions and millions of credits in game just to try to get it to the place that it is. I've found that it's very useful, often generating 4 Bonjelium at any particular time from Cauldros. Yeah, with that said, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or any concerns, feel free to shoot them in the comments section. Happy to give some ideas or you know, potentially workshop with you guys. Again, I was primarily going for mineable resources, so that's why the setup is the way it is. And then, of course, storage is by far and away the most important thing outside of the mineable resources. So again, that's kind of the idea behind this particular setup. That said, have anything else you want me to do research into or potentially optimize here, let me know. Happy to make a couple more videos as needed. It's not something that I have all the time in the world to do, but I'll see about doing it when I can. That's it. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you take care.